Okay, we are going to graph the sine function using our unit circle. Notice the x-axis is where the angles are located. The y-axis is the actual sine function. So we're going to start with our unit circle with sine of 0. Sine of 0 is 0. Sine of pi over 2 is 1. Sine of pi is 0. And sine of 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. And sine of 2 pi is 0. So we went around the unit circle one complete revolution, or what we call one cycle, creates the wave, the sine function. We also notice that on the sine function we have something called the amplitude. The amplitude is the distance or the height of this heel, which in this case is 1. So our amplitude is equal to 1, and our period, it's the length of a complete cycle from start to finish. So we started here, we finished here, so the length was 2 pi. And our midline, that's halfway between the top and the bottom, which in this case the midline is at 0. Now what I'd like to show you is what happens, how we can transform our graphs up, down, left, right, stretch, and compress. The A affects the amplitude, the B affects the period, the H moves it left and right, and the K moves it up and down, which is the midline. So if we wanted to take our sine graph and now make it 2 sine graph, we want to make the amplitude 2 opposed to 1, all that affects is the height of the heel. So the graph of 2 sine x would then go up to 2 here and down to negative 2 here, which would stretch it vertically by 2. So this would be y equals 2 sine x, or sine theta. Now suppose we wanted to affect the horizontal stretch or compress. That's the B factor. So suppose we wanted to graph y equals sine 2x. That makes B 1/2. Remember, the B flips over, which affects the period. Since the period is 2 pi times B, we get 2 pi times 1/2, which is equal to pi. That means our graph must start at 0 and finish by the time it gets to 2 pi, which means we need to kind of cut the points in half. Since it takes 5 points, we then have 0, we have it up to 1, down to 0, down to negative 1, and back to 0. So there would be my sine 2x. It's now being compressed horizontally by 1/2.